You are now listening to the Molten Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you are listening to us. It is the Molten Fantasy Sport Podcast, and I am your host, Rob Kennedy, coach, manager, owner of the delicious Raviolis, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Mickie Dell. How are you, my friend?
Robbie, how are you? And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am the owner, the manager, and hopefully the winner of the 2023 version of Mixed Pigs. What have we got in store tonight, Robbie?
Well, it's just you and me, mate, but we're going to do a bit of a quick fire. Justin Herbie isn't with us today, so hopefully we can find a little bit of wit and a little bit of banter between the two of us. But we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to do some quick fire, rapid episodes. We're going to do some top 10s. So anyone who's watched this on YouTube, welcome. Listening to us on the podcast, we're going to fire through a list of our top 10s, starting with top 10 must-haves. And it's going to be my list, and I'm going to get your insights into that. We're going to carry on into the top 10 must stay away from, and then we're going to finish off with the top 10 sleepers. Now, that one's changing a lot, and I think that should get probably more views and listen-tos than we've ever had. But what's your thoughts on the quick top 10s, mate?
No, yeah, I like it. I like the idea of putting out to our viewers that these are the players that are going to help you potentially win the money this year. So if you don't have these players, I suggest having a look at your team, resetting it, or finding ways to get them in, because they've proven over a period of time, or as rookies, they've proven that they will play and they will score well. So this is the purpose behind this, to give our viewers, our subscribers, an insight as to the best content and the best information available prior to round one.
Now, if you haven't clicked subscribe, now is the time. Most of the time, our producer puts one down here where I'm pointing. If anyone's watching along, a beautiful little subscribe button. You do not want to miss any episodes between now and round one. And I tell you what, round one is coming up very, very fast. And there's a lot of chat on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, get on our Instagram, follow us along and get involved in the conversation. We might even do a live episode one time soon and crack on in. But we said quick fire, so we better get into it. I have been given the task of what I think are the top 10 must-have players. Now, there is a bit of variety here. There's some primos. There isn't too many mid-price maniacs, and there's a couple of rookies thrown in as well who I think are must-have. So I've tried to give everyone a little bit of variety here. This is not based on who I think are going to be the top 10 scorers. These are the players who I think you must have, not only based on their scoring ability, but also their price, maybe their consistency, the job security, you name it. I've got the 10 players you must have. Let's dive in. Now, I'm starting with a special mention. Number 11, Nick Madden. Now, Nick Madden is sitting at 102K. He's a ruckman. He is the absolute loophole best ruckman you could possibly get to start in. You must put him on your bench. GWS play, I think it's 5 of their first 7 or 6 of their first 7 on a late Sunday afternoon. He is the perfect loophole player. If you do not have him in to start your season, he's not going to make you any cash. He ain't going to play, but he's going to help you, give you that double chance for your captaincy. So I just want to make a special mention to Nick Madden as a number 11. Thoughts?
Nah, with you, 100%. They've got the late games, and then once the season progresses and Fremantle start having the Sunday games, then we'll look at them.
Beautiful. All right, so drum roll here. Here we go. I am starting with, at number 10, Gold Coast, Sam Flanders. Now, we've talked about him a little bit. He's priced at 256.3K, which at that price for me is a must-have in your spot. He has shown that he's going to dive into that midfield. Yes, he put up some great numbers without Touk Miller playing, but I don't think it matters. This guy is a mid-forward. You put him in your forward line at that price. I think he's going to make you some serious cash. Job security is high, and I actually think his score security is quite high as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Robbie. We brought him up on a previous podcast as well as someone to look out for, and true to form, he smashed it out of the park, so to speak. With Touk Miller coming back, I don't think that's really going to affect his scoring, given that they'll run Noah Anderson, Matt Rowe, and Touk as their first choice midfielders, but they can't play the whole game. And as we saw on the weekend, he went back and scored with his run and carry out of the back line. So he's a must-have.
Couldn't agree more. Now, we go from one scale to the other. We go from a low price right up to really near the top. At number 9 for me is Sam Doherty. I think you lock him away at your D1 spot. Yes, he's priced at $603K, but I think with the role that he's playing, they look for him in the back line. He still gets that run around the back. He's going to go in and get midfield time. He gets so many marks as well. They chip it to him. He's efficient with the ball. I've only put him at 9 because of his price, and you could pick players like Dawson. You could pick players like Stewart. We're talking about must-haves here. And I'm sort of those players where you go, yep, if there's someone else that could do similar, are they that much of a must-have? He still slots into this top 10 for me. So Sam Doherty's sitting at number 9.
Yeah, I've had a bit of time to rewatch some games back, and true to form, he is the person that Carlton try to get the ball in their hands of. So he'd be up for me. He'd be 2, if not 1, of the most important players in Supercoach this year. Carlton want him to have the ball. He uses it well. He uses it a lot. He gets the ball a lot. Let's lock him away.
Beautiful. We move on to number 8, must-have. We're talking about our top 10 must-haves. We're up to number 8, and for me, it's Tom Green. GWS, I've talked a lot about the Orange team. We've shown that this guy is 100% going in and being that ball magnet inside. Josh Kelly is showing some glimpses. Lockie Whitfield is one that everyone's talking about at the moment, but I think this guy again has shown that he's going to take that inside mid role. He's on the increase every single year. At that price, at $534 for the numbers he's going to put up as a midfielder, must have, sits at number 8 for me.
Couldn't agree with you more. Like, I want to disagree with something, but you've taken the words out of my mouth. He's an inside mid. He's got run and carry all around him. They're going to rely on him to get the ball out. And we've seen last year, the year before to an extent, but now that he's got his 3rd, 4th preseason under his belt, he's bigger, he's fitter. He'll be one of the top point scorers this year.
I just want to touch on a point that you said there really quickly, and it's something that we've talked about as a show. And to everyone listening at home, we are going to be as genuine as we can. We're not going to make some fake arguments. We're not going to sit here and just pretend that we don't get along on a point. If we believe something, we're going to say it. If we agree, we're going to agree. Now, maybe that doesn't make us like the First Take or someone else that loves a little argument for a little bit of drama. This isn't Married at First Sight, people. This is the Molten Fantasy Sport podcast. Somehow I nearly made that work as MAF and MFS. That nearly worked really well. So we are going to be genuine with our comments. Now, Mickie and Dell and I do agree on a lot, but there might be a couple that pop up, especially over these next episodes. We move on. Number 7 for me. I think this is probably the must-have mid-price maniac, and that's Jacob Hopper. He sits at number 7 for me because I feel there's a few other questions coming up, and I've read some good articles about your James Warples and the numbers that he might be able to put up as well. They're in that similar price range. Your Elliot Yo's, now I know he's a defender at that price. Those guys haven't actually made my top 10 because I feel like there's a few that you could pick. But for me, with his numbers and his job security and the role that he's going to play at the Tigers, at $332, number 7, Hopper's a lock for me.
Yeah, he's very cheap, and the way that he wins the ball. 2 years ago, he was an All-Australian. So we know that he can win the ball. He uses it well. He gets big numbers. I like the fact that they've got Nankervis and Soldo, 2 pretty decent ruckmen in the competition to get him the ball, and his work rate up and down the ground's pretty good. With I'm glad you brought up Yo, and I'm not sure whether you've got him in your top 10 or not. But
do not.
Oh, good, because I was about to point out that without Nat Nui, we've seen that West Coast ruck stocks are very depleted, and it looks like they're going to have to learn to rove to the opposition ruckman all year. So when we're looking at Yo, he's still in my team for now, but he's not as locked in as what he has previously been.
100%. He's let's be clear, he's sitting in my spot at the moment. He's sitting at D3. But again, to reiterate to everyone at home, this is about those must-haves. Now, the likes of Liam Jones are starting to shine through with the 200K. He's also in my team. So people could actually go that 3 primo backline and then come down to like a Liam Jones and a couple of rookies, some that I might mention in a little bit. But he's not as much of a must-have as he used to be for me. So don't get me wrong, Yo's in my team, and he was on Channel 7 News here in WA. He says he's looking fit and feeling good. So he's going to rack up some points.
So he's telling the news he's looking fit, is he?
Mate, if you know Elliot Yo, he will tell you that he's looking fit, looking good, and picking up birds, mate. I tell you that. He's not shy in being honest, the Elliot Yo. I actually think he's He seems to be. I don't know Elliot personally. Let's be clear here, but he seems like a funny guy. He seems like a really interesting character. I've heard little stories here and there, but I tell you what, I'd rather somebody get on the news and not give me cliche after cliche. So, Elliot Yo, if you're listening, one, your dad owns a fantastic bar out in Vic Park near where I work, and two, stay genuine. Love it. It's very good. We move on to where was I? Number 6. For me, again, he sits at number 6. It's not where I rate him as a player. He's was very picked early for me, this guy. But again, your Rosies and your Canelios make you choose and mix up these kind of players. So for me, at number 6 is Tim Taranto. I think at 503K as a forward and going into that midfield, and I agree with Justin. I think he could be a Brownlow Smoky this year, and has one of those players with Hopper that's now put Richmond back in that premiership window where they probably belong. I think for me, though, he sits at number 6 as a must-have. Yep.
Yeah, look, with Prestia having fitness issues at the moment, they're looking at playing Cochin more forward. They've already said Dusty's going to play predominantly forward as well. You know that Hopper and Taranto are going to play the majority of their minutes through the midfield. Taranto's got this ability to rack up huge numbers, a bit like Green, but he kicks the ball a lot more and he kicks more goals than what Green does. And we'll give a shout-out to Justin here. Good on you, Justin, for doing the family thing tonight. But I quite like his call that he could be a Brownlow Smoky. Like, he's just got that flair, his ability to win the ball, but he looks good while he's got it.
I couldn't agree more. Disposals plus flair plus goals equals Brownlow medal. So he's definitely and winning games. So, mate, that brings us to our top 5. Now, we've got some exciting news before we get into our top 5. We've made jokes about different unofficial, official sponsors and all those types of things. Now, I won't go as far as completely official yet because we're not rocking anything. We can't show everybody along what's going on. But you've got an announcement for us, mate, and I will pass this one over to you.
Yeah, guys, I want to give a shout-out to the guys at Snap Fitness here, Bendigo and Epsom in Bendigo. So for our viewers, our listeners, our subscribers, if you need a hand achieving your fitness goals in 2023 and you're finding it hard to get a workout in because of kids or family commitments, head on in and have a chat to our team here at Bendigo or Epsom. Here they offer a wide variety of classes to cater for all people and also have free childminding services with people with working with children's checks. So your kids can be looked after while you get a sweat on, get a workout in. And for me, I've got a couple of kids. I use it all the time, and it's fantastic. They're great people in there. So, guys, pop in, say good day to Emma, Mark, and the team. Tell them that us Molten boys sent you in, and they'll look after you.
Mate, I love that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the sponsorship. And who would have thought? Who would have thought a couple of lads on an instant messenger chat who decided to start a podcast would actually have a sponsor? So we've said this many times. For everyone listening, thank you. For everyone who chats with us, thank you. And now to have a sponsor, thank you so much. It means that we can just continue to keep doing what we love. And if I was over where you are, if I knew I could take my kids along to the gym, I tell you what, I'd be a lot more ripped than I am because I definitely blame them for the reason I've had to down my memberships down to sort of 2-day-a-weeker kind of thing. So, mate, fantastic. Please, everyone get along. Tell them we sent you. And I wish them all the best. And we'll try and continue to bring great content to their gym name.
Absolutely.
So we dive into the top 5. I know everyone's on the edge of their seat for what must be an absolute top 5, mate. So I've got a couple of rookies in this top 5, and we start with one of them here. For me, Ruben Ginbey at 171.3 as a defender at West Coast, being able to go in the defence. I think he's one of the rookies that is an absolute must-have. I was so impressed by his preseason game as well. He's living up to the hype. He's going to get plenty of opportunity to that team. If you don't have him in your team, this is kind of a bit of a check yourself, put him in your team. He's got to be there.
He was unbelievable. Like, in a team that got absolutely belted by Adelaide from pillar to post, he stood out. He was really good. I would nearly go as far as to say that if he plays the way he did on the weekend, and we know that Brisbane's midfield's very stacked and Will Ashcroft is a gun, but he could be a smoky for the Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really fair and good shout. Now, this number 4 might be my controversial one. I don't think it is, but I know people talk about this a lot. Justin's a hater. But for me, with the numbers that this guy's putting up, people are going to say, what about Clary? You know, what about Clayton Oliver? What about Bontempelli? What about Lockie Neal? is he really a must-have? I don't think anyone is as consistent with the big numbers as Rory Laird. Laird is my number 4, and he is going to be the one that will pick up my pieces if my VC doesn't come through. He's going to get my captaincy very many times throughout this year, and I don't care that he's at 703.9K. He's a lock for me, and I think he's going to score massive with what I'm seeing again from early signs.
Were you aware that he started last year at mid-650s?
Crazy.
And went up?
It's crazy, and I didn't have him. I thought, that was a bit of a, okay, off they go. But what he does, they look for him. He gets the ball. He's efficient. He gets marks. He pushes back in defense. He runs both ways.
He tackles.
He does everything. He really does everything. Maybe he doesn't kick as many goals as some of the other ones, but he does so many other things. And as I said, Adelaide, I think, are going to be on a rise a little bit. I'm not as sold in as what everybody else is saying. But for me, they're still going to lose games. I don't think people tag him. I just think he's just going to run wild again. Yeah,
I think you're right. So with Laird, I'm glad you brought it up. No, he doesn't kick a lot of goals, but he gets a lot of score assists with the way he sets up the play. So that's where he generates his points from.
Yep. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got Laird and Clary in my team. Clayton Oliver. I'm pretty sure I've got both. Yeah, Clayton Oliver's sitting there in the M2, so I'm pretty happy having the two there. I know everybody's looking for bargains and everyone's looking to make cash. Don't get me wrong, make cash, but I want points. I got to get points as well, and I don't think these guys are either going to drop or drop too much. I'm pretty happy with them sitting in my 1-2 and giving me some confidence to make some other picks. I won't say who one of my other picks is just yet, but he will pop up in our sleeper list that we have coming up. So we move into our top 3. This is the other rookie. I think it's pretty obvious that he's got to be there. For me, it's an absolute lock to have Will Ashcroft. He is a gun in the making, if not already going to be a gun. I don't like the whole superstar comment thrown out too easily and all that types of things. I think you don't get a superstar tag unless you're really top 5, top 10 in the AFL. But at 202K, the numbers he's putting up, the role he's doing, I know there's so many players there, but he's going to give you job security, point security, and you've got to put him in your team.
Yeah, I can't really add to that. He's going to be the best player in the comp in years to come. So, yeah, get him in. He's going to make you 300,000, no worries.
Yep, absolutely. So, final two. Now, I took a little while. I flip-flopped a little bit with this. My number 2 is actually the first player I picked in my team, but he's moved to number 2, and for the same reasons that I sort of talked about Taranto in a way. My number 2 is Josh Dunkley. Josh Dunkley is that 5'96", can play forward. We know he's gone to Brisbane. We know the role he's now playing. We know he's going to be an absolute gun with the points that he's scoring. Again, like I said, with your Rosies, your Canelios, your Tarantos, I'll say Gouldens because people are trying to throw him in as a bit of a make a bit of money kind of stuff. But you do have some options there. Your Bailey Smiths who might become DPPs later on and things like that. So is he as much of a must-have as who my number 1 is? No. But I think you've got to put this guy in because he's going to score big. And if you miss out on those points trying to get all tricky, you're going to drop behind the pack.
Yeah, this is one where you just lock him in and you keep him for the year. He scores points for fun. We've already seen that he works well with Brisbane's midfield. He's not going to be used as that makeshift ruck that he was at the Western Bulldogs. Lock him in, throw the key away, get on with your season.
So that brings us to number 1. And I think this one is a pretty obvious one for anyone. For anyone who's been listening along a lot, the number 1 must-have in my top 10 is Rowan Marshall. Rowan Marshall needs to go on your team. We chose to do this top 10 without Herbie. Well, we didn't. He couldn't be here. But we're going to say we chose to do it without Herbie because Rowan Marshall, at his price, with the points that he's going to put up, and he's shown again in preseason, he's just an absolute lock. I think you can make an argument for every other ruck for why you can be a little bit wary of them. I can't come up with one for this guy for why he shouldn't be in your team. So for me, number 1, by an absolute country mile in the end, is Rowan Marshall. Thoughts, Del?
Yeah, we've both had him in right from the start, haven't we? We brought up, I think, in our second or third episode, which was a month and a half ago now, that we knew that he pumps out big scores without Ryder. Like his averages were 20 more without Ryder versus when Ryder was in the team. He's going to be the sole ruckman. We saw that they could get the job done against Essendon, who were, like I support Essendon, they were pretty awful, but him getting around the ground, intercept marks, taps to advantage, his ability to push forward as well, he may well be the number one ruck by season's end.
Yeah, I think that one's an absolute no-brainer for me. So one more time, my top 10 must-have plays from 10 to 1. Special mention is Nick Madden. Then we've got Sam Flanders, Sam Doherty, Tom Green, Jacob Hopper, Tim Taranto. And then we go into Ruben Gimby, Rory Laird, Will Ashcroft, Josh Dunkley, and the number one must-have player in Supercoach 2023 for me is Rowan Marshall. Mate, Delhi, it's felt really quick. Obviously, doing a bit of a quicker one this session as we go through our top 10s. Hopefully, that helps people. Now, if you're setting your team for the first time, go and chuck those 10 in your team. See how much cash you got. We're going to do some rookie ones at another time. Dell's going to tell you next in our next episode who to stay away from. And then if you're looking for those PODs, or we're going to call them sleepers in the next one, then maybe you get a chance to throw in some of those sleepers to just have that little bit of difference. We hope that this has helped everybody, and we hope you've enjoyed this quick fire episode. Dell, any final words, mate?
One final word for the viewers listening at home. Our Molten Fantasy Sports pod on Supercoach. Our league is 237113. That number again, 237113. The amount of love that we've been getting in the past week's been phenomenal. We're well over 100 in the league now. So we want to get that up around 200, 250 prior to the season starting. So for the people that are already in, tell your mates, get everyone on board. There's prizes to be won. It's free entry. Compete against some of the best super coaches in Australia. And as Robbie's aware, and the guys at Molten Fantasy Sports, we've got some pretty nice, interesting, special guests coming on our episode in the coming weeks for you to listen to. So get on board, like, subscribe, get around us, boys and girls and children of all ages.
Del, it's been an absolute pleasure. I must say, though, don't go anywhere. We're going to end this episode, and then we're jumping straight back into the studio to plan and record the next one. Thank you, everybody, listening along. This has been the Molten Fantasy Sport Podcast. Peace out.
See ya.